Hey, everybody. So thanks for joining us. So we are very excited always when a season changes and Halloween is over and now we are welcoming in fall. So we have worked on fall tablescapes and fall decor and just all these fabulous ideas for all of the fun ways that you celebrate the fall season. And one of the things that we got super excited about is altering vases, whether you got them at the Goodwill, whether you had them from a floral arrangement in the past, even if they're simple mason jars or spaghetti food jars that you've gathered from home. We want to just show you such a simple technique, but altering a plain clear glass into a beautiful centerpiece, colored glass that reflects the light, that has all of that beautiful transparent color that comes through it is such a popular trend right now. So today's class is, again, such a simple technique, but just something that's very, very impactful. So this is kind of the fall color palette that we focused on for a fall tablescape with placemats that matched and chargers and napkin rings and a fun fall sign, all using great craft products. But this was our centerpiece. So we took a fall palette that we love, and that's what we're working with today. And we're working with all of this is just simply gallery glass color. I know for everybody that's used gallery glass, we always focus that you let a pattern, you let the letting dry, and then you color it in, which is a fabulous, fun, wonderful way to use gallery glass. But we wanted to just inspire that if you were just going to use the paint, almost to base coat. But the difference is when you base coat with gallery glass, you get these beautiful glass bases. So the supplies that you're going to need is an assortment. Again, it can be recycled food jars. It can be jars, bowls, anything that you have around the house or that you found at the Goodwill. I've got everything from this cute little glass votive. And also, it doesn't have to be totally smooth glass. You guys will see that I've got everything from a plain mason jar that has, I want to make sure you guys can really see how the light comes through, a plain mason jar that doesn't have any texture, which is a really beautiful look. But look how beautiful glass with texture is. I want to make sure that you guys can totally see those. These were similar to this. They just had some texture or some bevels, I guess, in clear glass. And when you add the color to it, it's just gorgeous. Okay, so most important is an assortment of glass containers. And they're really the only tip to doing gallery glass as a base coat to transform clear glass is to wash it, dry it. And sometimes it might have a sticker residue from the label, or you just might have been really heavy-handed with lotion or dish soap. I always say rub it down with rubbing alcohol and a dry paper towel and just let that dry. That'll take off any oil or residue on your vases. So gather your vases. And then the color palette that we are working with today. And for anybody that is new to gallery glass, I want to make sure that you guys know that gallery glass goes on when it's wet, it's opaque. But when it dries to this beautiful transparent color. So these two colors, what you see in the bottle and what dries transparent, are a lot different. So I just want you to see the comparison and how beautiful the colors are when they dry. Gallery glass dries completely translucent. The light comes through and it's just such a beautiful effect. Okay, so the color palette that we are specifically using today is cocoa brown, amber, the all-time favorite, turquoise, which is this beautiful one that I showed you guys earlier, like just absolutely beautiful. Oh, then we're going to use sunny yellow. We're going to use pumpkin orange, and we are going to use peach tea. And I'm going to show you guys one more just so you can see how beautiful they are when they dry. So this is pumpkin orange on a plain vase. And this is pumpkin orange on a vase with a little bit of texture. It's such a beautiful way to make really nice looking colored glass that is completely translucent, lays flat. You can see there's no brush strokes. So a fun way to base coat with gallery glass. Okay, so that's what we're gonna need today. And then a little bonus Again, mainly for the people that haven't done gallery glass with us before. So an exciting thing that you guys can find on plaidonline.com is once you go to Michael's and you get all of your paints, all of your surfaces, great glass vases. If you go to plaidonline.com/gallery glass, we have got so many free downloadable patterns. And we've got fall, we've got Christmas, we've got Halloween, we've got everyday designs, animals and floral and spring and butterfly and words. We have so many, but find your favorite pattern. For fall, I'm going to just give you guys a quick tutorial on how to make 3D elements with leading, but I'm using the autumn leaves, which again, these are free, they're downloadable. You've got a color code if you want to follow it. You can do the colors that you want. You can enlarge them or reduce them and just print them over and over again. So a great resource for gallery glass. Okay, so to work with our downloadable patterns, there's two ways to do a cling. You can do it on a piece of glass that you took out of an old frame or you purchased at a store. But glass, if you do a cling on glass, it's completely removable. Almost once it's dry, almost like a sticker, it will peel off, and that can be added to a window in your home, to a side light on your front door. And the greatest thing about gallery glass is it's permanent until you want it to not be, and then it's completely removable. So if you were to peel off a cling once it's dry and put that on your kitchen window or on your front door, when fall is over and you're ready for Christmas, you can peel that right off and change it and do maybe snowflakes or something for another season. So that is doing a cling on glass. If you want a cling to be an accent like these here, so these are something that we are going to kind of add to our elements in our centerpiece. So I've got a little floral stem that I got at Michael's. I'm just going to kind of add an element of gallery glass so that you can see all that reflective light. If you want to do something like that, what I suggest is clear acetate sheets. And they have these at Michael's. I think they're in maybe Scrapbook or the Cricut machine, but clear acetate, the weight and the texture does not matter. And then you'll do the same cling application, but then you'll actually cut it out. So it gives your cling a little bit of stability. It's a little bit thicker, and it's something that then you can just use to accent your floral stems. Okay. So with all that said, the most exciting thing is, again, the focus of the class is just base coating and creating these beautiful colored glass bases. So to do that, oh, one more tool. So toothpicks or a combing tool, which is a gallery glass combing tool. It's a metal pick that allows you to brush and smooth the gallery glass when you apply it. Okay, so I'm going to use this little vase that I found at the Goodwill. It's clean and dry. And then to do this base coat technique, you wouldn't use a traditional paintbrush. What you would do is there's a fine tip on all of the gallery glass paint bottles. So all I'm going to do is use that tip to apply an even coat of paint, but you're almost just going to scribble. Doesn't have to be perfect because you're just, the first step is just applying the paint to the surface.
Hey, Kirsten, while you're doing that, I have a question for you.
Hey, Stephen, I forgot to say, you guys, Stephen's here moderating, and he will answer any questions that you guys have. Okay, what's the question?
This is from Anne-Marie, and they ask, how would you suggest storing the clings?
Oh, that's a great question, Anne-Marie. So the clings, if you do them like a traditional cling, where you would do it on a piece of glass, and then you would pull it off to make it something for a window in your home or your front door. When you pull that cling off, we say everything from, you could store it back on that same sheet of glass. You could store it on, we've had a lot of people call in and say a school folder. That kind of that rigid plastic that works perfectly. The glass I think works best just because it's stable and it's easy to store, where the plastic is a little bit flimsy. But you could store it on anything like that. We don't recommend wax paper because the gallery glass will actually pick up the wax paper. And we definitely don't recommend saran wrap, which feels like a natural, but it almost will leave how it's always wrinkled. It's never smooth, saran wrap. Over time, it'll almost leave that saran wrap texture on the back of your cling. So we just recommend something smooth, a rigid, like recycled school folder or a piece of glass. That's the best way to do it. Great question. Okay, guys, so when you're base coating your vase, the only tip that I have is don't apply it with a brush and don't cover your entire vase before you do the second technique. So the first technique is just getting paint in a very random pattern onto your project. So you can see it's not perfect. Let me hold that up. There's pretty good coverage, but it's almost like a scribbled application. The gallery glass formula is great because you can do it vertical or horizontal, which allows you to dry your vase sitting up. You don't have to do a section at a time like you would do if you were working with resin or something. So once you've applied paint to a section, using a toothpick, a combing tool, you just want to comb back and forth. You can hear I'm touching on that glass, and all that does is flatten, smooth, and cover every area of your surface. Let me see if I hold that up, if you guys can see the difference. So see the difference where I've combed right there? It's smooth and perfect and will dry beautifully, to where I applied the paint and it's kind of a textured with some gaps in coverage.
Kirsten, back to storing the clings for a second. Do you think parchment paper would work?
I think parchment paper would work. But again, I would make sure that it is on a firm, flat surface, because you do not want like the weight of something that you would put on top of it if you're storing it with your decorations. You don't want that to smash down your clings. Okay, so you can see it's really such a simple technique. I am just combing. Combing also eliminates any air bubbles. It gives you complete coverage, and it allows the paint to lay perfectly flat. And the reason I don't do the entire vase with the first application of the paint right out of the bottle is because you want to comb your gallery glass always when it's wet. You don't ever want to let it dry at all. So I have done that section. And then what I'm going to do is just keep moving around the glass until it's all combed and smooth.
Janet asks, why do you not use a brush?
So a brush is a different technique and it does look beautiful, but you would get almost too thin of a coat if you were using a brush. And it would be, you would see very little brush strokes because you're not combing it and flattening it out, but your application would almost be too thin. Can you see how the application of how much paint is on this vase is actually pretty thick? So by applying it directly out of the bottle and then smoothing it down, that is what gives you the vibrant, beautiful colors when it dries. So you could use a brush. It would just be a much lighter color, a much lighter look, and it wouldn't look like, authentic blown colored glass. But see how easy the gallery glass flattens out. You've got total coverage. And then this is what I want to show you guys. So it goes on opaque. And then as it dries, you get that gorgeous translucent color. Isn't that gorgeous? And I think I mentioned this. So gallery glass can be done vertical or horizontal, which means if you're using the paint and you're doing a privacy window or your door, it is not going to run when you apply it to your door. So same thing with this vase. Once it was completed and colored, you can set it up just like you would on a piece of palette paper or a paper towel and let it dry. And that gallery glass paint is not going to run to the bottom. That would happen with some glass paints and resin. It's going to stay on your vase and dry flat and smooth and perfect.
So with how you're applying it now, how long would you estimate for it to dry?
So I always say let it dry overnight. And the main reason for that is the temperature in your home, or if it's humid, depending on the weather. If you let your vase or your project dry overnight, it's just going to be guaranteed that all the layers of the paint are dry. But you'll see it to start to dry a little bit sooner in areas. I just recommend not handling it and letting it dry overnight. So see how there's no seam between where I did the different sections of color, but that just allows you to work section by section. So you get that beautiful full coverage. And just keep rotating it until you've completely covered the vase. Now, a tip that we give, so the gallery glass has that really nice fine rider tip. If you want the paint to come out a little faster, you can always snip with scissors the tip of your gallery glass. And I would only snip it maybe 1/8 of an inch from the top. And that just allows it to be a little bit easier to squeeze. Your paint will come out a little bit faster, and you're able to complete your project a little bit easier if it's hard on your hand. And that's just preference.
Is it waterproof when it dries, Kirsten?
So gallery glass is not waterproof when it dries. It's decorative only. So for example, if you were doing a privacy window in your home, it's great for home decor, but all of your projects would be done on the inside of your window. And so for example, these vases would be decorative. You could put water in them because your paint is on the outside. That is perfectly fine. But if it was to get dusty, you would just want to use a damp cloth to dust it.
Okay, I've got a couple other questions for you.
Okay.
Do we have to paint the base of the vase as well?
You know what? You don't have to. I guess it depends the color of your table, what you're putting on it, the size of your vase. You know, most of the vases that I'm working with today, let me see if I did the bottoms of most of them. Yeah, like, so this little brown jelly jar, I didn't do the bottom at all. It was so reflective. I knew I was going to put a floral stem in it. So there's no need for the bottom to be done. I think you guys can see on there. You can see the bottom is not done, but it's so reflective because it's translucent that it almost looks like it is colored all the way to the bottom. It will, the main reason I don't do the bottom is I just didn't want it to stick to anything on the dining room table. So if you keep the bottom clear, it just guarantees that it won't stick to anything. Okay, and you can see on all of them.
Gotcha.
It looks like that is painted blue, Stephen, but that's because it's translucent and it's reflecting all of the light from the side, but it's actually totally clear. I'm not sure how to show. Oh, there you go. So no, save some time and paint, and you do not have to do the bottom.
So we also had a couple people ask how many items or like jars of that size could you do with one bottle if you had to estimate?
Oh boy, that's a great question. I mean, you put on a thick coat, but you really don't use a lot of paint. I bet you could do, nobody hold me to this. I bet you could do for sure 3, maybe 4 vases with one bottle. You don't want to be so heavy that you're wasting paint and that you're getting, giant clumps of paint. You just need a good, even coat. That's the rule of thumb. You just want a good, even coat.
Okay. And then we also had a couple of people ask, can you seal the paint maybe with like a varnish?
Oh,
I think they might have asked that because we talked about taking them outside and how they're decorative only. So they might be asking if you could seal it with like an outdoor varnish, like Mod Podge Outdoors.
Oh. And make it outdoors. No, we always recommend that gallery glass is for indoors only. Just because of the consistency of the paint. It's really just a decorative paint that is fabulous for indoor only, but you can get that outdoor the outdoor vibe by doing the inside of your windows, or by placing, you could do a sun catcher that you can see from indoor, outdoor, but you always apply it to the inside of a window. Okay. So see how beautiful the coverage is. I just want to show you guys really quick. So that is the same vase. And that it's almost, someone said it once when I was teaching a class, it's almost like a surprise as it dries, because this is pretty basic and looks like an acrylic paint base coated vase. But when it dries, it's like the magic appears and it becomes translucent colored glass. So isn't that gorgeous? Same color, but it dries like that. Okay. Sorry, Stephen, do you have one more question?
I have a couple more questions.
Awesome.
Have you ever used a stencil or daughter tool to decorate glass containers?
Everyone's got such good questions today. So you know what we have done, and it's actually a trend that we're seeing everywhere. So, you know, dotting, like whether it be cute little mandala rocks or, you know, big paintings that are acrylic paint dotting. We've seen a lot of people do that similar technique with the gallery glass. And we've tried it here in the studio, and it is fun. You can use the writer tip and almost do the same technique just by creating dots on your project and get a really unique look.
Somebody asked, can you show us how to make the leaves? And I think we will get to that momentarily. Yep. Can you add glitter to the paint?
Oh, I don't see why not. You can add glitter, knowing though that the glitter, like glitter particles, are solid, or they're not translucent. So as it dries, the glitter would be reflective, but it would also be a solid area that you wouldn't get light coming through. So because the light comes through so beautifully on a gallery glass completed project, I'm worried that the glitter almost might be too dark. It almost might look like pepper because it's a dark spot that's not having any light come through it. Any other questions? These guys are very creative. I love it.
I think we are caught up for now.
Okay. So I do want to show you guys really quick weirdly, one of the greatest things about gallery glass, and it's more relevant for a privacy window or a kid's window in their bedroom. Gallery glass is permanent until you want to remove it, and then it's completely removable. So the same thing applies to any glass project that you did, whether it be these vases or whether it be a window in your home. So gallery glass, once it dries, it's beautiful, it's durable, you can handle it, you can dust it, you can arrange flowers in it. But if you had a very special vase, let's say that you had yellow for a year and you're like, nope, I want to change that and I want to make it a different color. Gallery glass is removable. You simply we have a cutting tool, or you can use an X-Acto blade, and you just kind of start the edge of your project. And you can start anywhere on your project, but you just kind of start by scraping the edge of the gallery glass paint. And then I'm not going to do it because I want to keep this vase beautiful, but look, then you just start peeling, and you can peel that off. Can you guys see that, Stephen?
Yeah, we can see that.
You can peel that off and completely remove the yellow from this beautiful vase. You could change it to a different color. You could restore it back to its original, but the flexibility of that is amazing for home decor pieces. So you could just keep peeling that off and your vase goes back to the original. But it's so durable. It will stay like this, be beautiful colored glass as long as you want it to be. It won't peel on its own, but when you want to change it or change the color or bring it back to its original clear glass, you just start it with an X-Acto knife or our scraping tool, and then you just start peeling that back. Same removing technique for your window, for your side lights, for your front door. So what you can do with gallery glass to create stained glass is just amazing. Okay, so that was a little tip. I just wanted anyone that's new to gallery glass to know that that is something that you can do with gallery glass. Okay, so I'm going to teach you guys just a basic clean. So downloadable patterns. We also have patterns available, floral elements, 3D elements. We've even got privacy window, architectural elements, lots of designs available. So I picked this autumn leaves. I'm actually going to do it on the glass. And the first step in any gallery glass pattern, if you're creating a traditional pattern, is to use the gallery glass liquid leading. And the liquid leading is in that same rider tip. And again, depending on maybe how easy or hard it is to squeeze, how strong your hand is, how big of a project. Sometimes if your hole on your tip is a little bit larger and your project is large, it will allow your hand to work without any fatigue. So all I did is I cut just 1/8 of an inch off the tip of this gallery glass tip. And the reason I did that is just so that when I made several leaves designs, it was easier on my hand. So when you're using the gallery glass lead, the only tip that is super important is you don't want to touch your tip onto the glass and drag like you would a marker or a paintbrush. You want to start the leading, squeeze it out, and let it fall onto your project. And then actually you want to be a little bit above the glass and let the leading drape onto your pattern. That way, let me show you guys this. That way, by not dragging and letting it fall onto your surface, you get that dimensional 3D lead line that makes it look like authentic stained glass, but also gives you a great spot to apply your paint. Let me see if I can, which I'm not sure if I can. I want to demo that just with a line. So you allow your lead to start, you can touch down then, but then as you create your line, see if I can angle it. That's gonna be hard, but see how you let it drape and fall onto your surface? That way you get that beautiful dimensional line. I'm not sure if holding that up helped at all, but I hope that it did, because that's really the only trick to using the liquid leading. Okay, so then you just follow your pattern. So I'm just following my printable pattern. The great thing about lead is if you get a little squiggle like that, you can either keep it and it'll peel off perfectly once your lead is dry, or you can remove it when it's wet. I always like to do it when it's dry because it's just a little bit easier. It'll just peel right off of that glass.
Kirsten, can you repeat again why you cut the nozzle down?
So I did it just so that my hand doesn't fatigue as quickly. And I know I'm going to make several, I'm probably going to make a dozen leaves. So if you cut just 1/8 of an inch off of the tip of your rider tip, it just comes out a little bit easier. You just want to make sure you can always cut a little bit more, but you don't want to cut too low, because then you're going to have a really, really thick lead line, and that is not ideal. So I always say 1/8 of an inch. And you don't have to do that. That is just if you want your lead to come out a little bit faster. Sometimes it's great for larger projects. Sometimes it's just based on preference. So then you just follow the pattern. You're just simply tracing. Something great about clings is you can create all of the leading, and then it's so fun to give these leaded designs over to a kid and let them color it in. And then once those are dry, they have such a fun time adding all of these clings to their windows in their home. They can put them on their mirrors. They can put them on their bedroom windows. They can decorate the kitchen window. Such a fun way to decorate for all the different seasons. Any more questions on leading?
No questions on leading.
All right, then I want to show you guys. So once you've leaded your pattern, you let that dry. And again, I say overnight. You don't ever want to assume that your leading is dry, because what will happen is the top of it will dry first. But if you go and add the paint too soon, the underneath is not dry completely and you'll mess up your lead lines. So I always say overnight. And you can see it's dimensional. It's kind of hard to show, but I think, oh, let's see. You can kind of just hear that it's a dimensional raised outline, which makes applying the paint super easy. So once they're dry, you can add a solid color into the sections. You apply it just like we did for our vases. You use that thin tip and just scribble paint into each leaded section. But you don't have to use the tip of the bottle to completely flatten it out and get full coverage. You're using the bottle just to get it into the sections. And if you want to blend two colors, the gallery glass blends beautifully. So I used pumpkin, and now I'm going to put a little bit of amber in those leaded sections. But you can see I'm not using my bottle tip as a brush. I'm not base coating and I'm not filling that in completely. I'm just, let me see if I hold that up. I'm just applying paint into each section. And then you use your combing tool or your toothpick. And just like we did on the vases, you flatten that out and comb back and forth, making sure that there's paint all the way up to your lead lines, blending your two colors or three colors if you're choosing to blend. It also will remove any air bubbles that you have in there. And it's really easy. You don't have to overcomb. You just have to make sure that there's full coverage in all your little leaded sections. And then you also want to make sure that your colors are blended well and that the paint is all the way up and really on top of your lead lines. Not on top so much where you don't see your lead lines anymore, but we always get a great question. So what if, and this is actually a great way to show you guys, what if the paint gets up on your lead lines? Like see right there, that lead line, part of it you can see, but then there's a little section right there that the paint has covered it. That's okay. You do not have to go in there and clean that up, because the great thing about gallery glass is the lead stays opaque, stays black and opaque, but as the paint dries, because it turns transparent, translucent, your lead lines come right through. So you can see, you guys might not actually be able to see that on the screen, but there was paint over those lead lines, just like there is right here when it's wet. But as it dries, the translucent paint does not show on your lead lines anymore.
We had a question.
I love that.
Does leading come in different colors? And I think it comes in a gold, does it not?
It does. We have got gold leading, and then we have got the black leading. Okay, so then you just keep coloring, blending, adding colors. You can do 2 or 3 colors in each section. You can just do one solid color. This is where you just do as much blending as you prefer for the look that you want. So I added a little bit of sunny yellow. I'm going to add a little bit of this pumpkin orange. But you can see I'm not completely filling it in with my bottle tip. I'm just placing my color with the tip of the bottle. Those look like little candy corns. I've got enough paint. One thing that's kind of important when you're making a cling is you want to make sure that you have enough paint in your leaded pattern so that when you do remove it from the glass, it's thick enough to be durable. You don't want to apply such a thin application of the gallery glass color that when you pull it off of the glass, there's not enough paint to keep it together. So you don't want to flood the area, but you really want to make sure that you completely fill each of your leaded sections all the way up into the lead lines and thick enough so that you don't see your glass or you don't see anything in the background. You want a really solid, let me hold that up. You want a really solid coat of paint.
Okay, I've got a couple questions to run past you, Kirsten.
Love it.
How do you get it off of glass or acetate? You can see to the right, there's this little tool that Kirsten has that is like a scraper. And we use that to remove our clings or our gallery glass.
Yep.
And another question, how many layers do you recommend?
Of paint?
Yeah.
Only one. One, you never really want to do 2 layers, just because one, you don't have to. You get all of these, whether it be the vases, whether it be the clings, all of these are always just one application. The main reason is you don't have to ever do more than one coat, but also to do a second coat, you would damage the first coat with whatever you're scraping with, whether it be a toothpick or a combing tool, and you don't want to do that. So I just say do a thick enough coat. Again, you don't want to flood it where your lead lines completely disappear, but you want to fill it. And because your lead lines are dimensional, it's hard to see that on the computer screen, but they are pretty dimensional. It allows you a little area to fill or flood with color. So you always really want to do one coat.
So bouncing off that, Kathy asked, can you add accents with another color on top of the original layer? You can add accents, but you wouldn't want to do it in 2 layers, kind of like what Kirsten's saying. So like you can see the leaf in front of her has more orange on one side and then one more yellow on the other side. And then she's using the tool to sort of blend them together. You wouldn't want to wait for it to dry and then go back and add another layer. You just do it all in one go.
Absolutely. So different than maybe acrylic painting, because maybe what you're thinking with your question is you would base coat your leaves with maybe an orange, and then you would maybe let that dry. And then once that dries, you would go back and add a highlight or a shadow. So gallery glass is very different in you want to blend your colors when all of your paint is wet. So I've got a little bit of brown, which I guess would work almost as my shadow or my darker edges, like for example, on this one. And then I'm going to go in and add a lighter color or like the main, well, opaque, that's going to look the same. I want one where you guys can really see the visual. So pumpkin orange, so brown on the tips, pumpkin orange next, but all wet. I'm not letting anything dry. And then this beautiful sunny yellow, knowing that that's going to be almost like my highlight. So adding all of those colors. And one of the greatest things about traditional stained glass is the way the colors come together is very organic. You're not trying to get consistency. So every section of your design is exactly the same. Because with authentic stained glass, you would just have cut pieces of real blown glass and they would just fall together in such a beautiful natural color order. So that's kind of the way that you want to think about applying paint to your patterns. So everything is not exactly the same. I skipped yellow on these 2, but you just want to apply the colors that you want to blend. So you can see, again, while they're wet, you want to blend those together. And you can blend and create a totally different color. If you kept combing that, whether it be a toothpick or your combing tool, eventually you're going to get a new shade. That is a fun way to use gallery glass paint. It's not going to muddy. It's still going to dry transparent. Or you can blend a little bit less, keeping those 3 colors separate, but allowing them to come together. So then you're going to get more of this look. Does that make sense, Stephen?
Yeah, totally.
But you always want to, that was a great question, whoever asked that. You always want to blend colors at the same time with all 3 colors or 4 colors or 2 colors being wet. You don't want to put new gallery glass over an already dry color. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So then, oh yeah. So then you would do all your leaves. You would get this beautiful, again, I love to show the comparison. Wet, it's opaque. Dry, it's translucent, just so you guys can see the difference. And then if you did clings on glass, you could add these to your window, to your front door. But if you did them on acetate, you would cut those out and then just really use them as an accent. You could just kind of sprinkle them around your centerpiece and have those on your table. You could have them mixed with greenery in your little vases. It's just a fun way to create another element of colored glass while you're creating these beautiful vases for your centerpiece. Does anyone else have any questions?
I think we are caught up on questions.
Okay, well then you know what, maybe what I'll do is one more vase just to kind of show you guys the variety of surfaces that are clear that you guys can add color to. So again, this was just a votive that I found, washed and dried it. It's got a really cute, almost like a daisy pattern within the clear glass. Can you kind of see that? And then same technique, I'm using the bottle tip to apply the paint, but just a really random loose pattern. You don't want to drown your surface, but you want to get pretty decent coverage out of the bottle.
Kirsten, have you ever used gallery glass on canvas?
Oh, I've never, well, you know what? I think Donna Dewberry did, and it was really pretty. Again, the element that you don't get is that translucent, where the light comes through the surface, obviously because of the canvas, but the paint would still be translucent. So it might be a really unique effect. And then you comb it. So whatever your surface is, whether it's smooth glass or it's got a pattern on there, you just want to make sure that you comb it, because that's what gives you no brush strokes, perfect coverage once it dries. But see, not too thick. And then as that dries, you would get this beautiful bright orange color. The before and after is amazing to me. Same color, opaque while it's wet, and then it dries to be clear colored glass.
Have you ever tried to use it on a mirror surface?
So mirror, a word that I struggled to say, mirror is very, very unique and very fun. So what happens on a mirrored surface is it's opaque while you create the pattern, but then once it's dry, you've still got that mirror reflective element coming through the colored glass. So it's like colored mirror, if that makes sense. And it is a fun, modern, really retro way to add colored elements to a mirrored surface. So yeah, it works fabulously. With mirror, the main thing is I would recommend, because there's all different levels and qualities of mirror, I would always do a cling. Because some mirror, depending on, again, the quality or what the surface is very easy to scratch. So when you're combing the color, if you did that as a cling and then applied it to the mirror, you would just guarantee that you wouldn't scratch or damage the mirror surface. But it works fabulously on a mirrored surface. These guys have great questions, Stephen.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, so I am going to continue to color one more side of this vase, and you can see I'm just working in sections, just like we did with the blue vase. And then all you guys would do is let everything dry. Once everything is dry, to arrange your centerpiece, all I did is pick some of my favorite floral stems from Michael's. I loved these neutral fall leaves. Of course, I loved the dark yellow hydrangea. So I just picked my favorite fall stems, and I cut those to fit into each of my colored glass vases. And you even could leave them plain and just let the light, the reflective light elements, or you could get some twigs out of your yard. There's so many ways that you could decorate these beautiful colored vases. But I'm going to just put a few stems in each one. And then once you do that, you can add your clings, you can add leaves, just scatter them around the table, whatever works for your centerpiece. And then you've got these beautiful, beautiful vases for your fall, for your Halloween, for your Thanksgiving dinner, and for your fall table decor. Do we have any other questions, Stephen?
Yeah, a question just came in. Would the paint still adhere to the glass if you put a votive candle in the jar? I don't know that I know what a votive can. Maybe I'm saying it wrong.
No, you're saying it right. I love that. So I'm thinking that, well, two ways you can do that. So there's those floating votives that you would fill the jar with water and then you would float the candle. That would be perfect. And just a plain votive would be gorgeous. And something else that you can do, you know, now they have so many options of those little battery tea lights that you could just put in there and you just run the battery, and those are beautiful and look very authentic. So yeah, you can do all of that, because remember, your paint is on the outside. So the inside of the glass can still function as, whether it has liquid for fresh flowers or water to float a candle. So you can absolutely use the function of the vase, because all of the paint is only on the outside. Great question.
Cool. Well, that is the last question I have seen come in. So we are
Yay. Caught up. Okay. So with that, guys, you would color all your vases, comb all of the areas so that you've got a good even coat, and then let that dry, and then just arrange it with your floral stems, and you've got a beautiful centerpiece, or you could add it to your mantle using gallery glass and recycled jars, vases, or really any glass container.
Awesome.
Awesome, guys. Well, thanks for joining us, and we can't wait to see you next time in our next Michael's class. Bye, everyone.